Hello and welcome to this Fotospeed video with me, Tim Jones. Today I am looking at viewing lights as part of the Printing 101 series we are doing, because viewing lights are an important part of the process, I think, and also it's something to bear in mind, the lighting conditions that you are actually viewing your prints in, because it does make a dramatic difference to the way the prints look, or could look in different situations anyway. So it's worth thinking about this and having it in the back of your mind when you're actually printing and actually looking at your prints the first time they come off the printer, and it could vary from different points in the day as well. And also I'm going to talk about some lovely products here. So the GrafiLite here from Calibrite, and also the Kaiser desktop viewing light as well. So I just want to talk about these two options that we have here at Fotospeed for actually kind of making the most of the viewing conditions and getting the best out of your photography, and also the prints as well. So you're not agonizing over how your prints are looking because you're looking at them in poor light as well. But before we get into any of that, as always, please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel, and also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter on photospeed.com. And then also don't forget to download The Art of Printing, the free ebook from us here at Fotospeed, that covers viewing lights as well, but also covers everything from turning on the printer, color management, to framing, mounting, bookmaking as well. And lots of our ambassadors have put their own stories in there of their own printing journeys and things as well. So well worth a download, and it's absolutely free. So just head over to photospeed.com to download that. I'll put a link in the description below for all of that though. So housekeeping out the way, let's look at viewing lights and what they can actually do for our photography and why we should think about using them. Now, the reason why we may want to think about how we're viewing our prints when they come off the printer is maybe one that most people are probably aware of and thought about, is that the different lighting conditions, be it if you're looking at it in daylight, or be it if you're looking at it in normal kind of household lighting, like ambient light we call it, those will be different and they can change as well. So just take daylight, for instance, which seems to be like, we talk about viewing your prints in daylight conditions or daylight light, and these lights are daylight balanced, but as you'll see in a minute, that can change a little bit. So at sunrise, the lighting conditions measured in kind of Kelvin, and the color of the light that you are dealing with will measure normally around 2000 Kelvin when the sun rises. Then kind of early morning, we drift into about 3500 Kelvin. So we're getting a little bit warmer in what we're doing. And then we'll probably get to about 5500 in midday. These are kind of rough figures. Of course, this will change throughout the world and things like that as well. And then we go the opposite way. So kind of late afternoon, early evening, we're probably dropping down to about 3500 Kelvin again, and then back to about 2000 Kelvin at sunset. So when people say, oh, we need to look at our prints in daylight, it will dramatically, it could dramatically change from if you're looking at them in the morning to midday to the evening. So we've got to be aware of that as well. Now, viewing lights will override this effectively, but they also come with their own caveats and their own little problems as well. The big thing is they will give you a consistent lighting source. Be it at what Kelvin these lights are set at, they will give you that consistency. So if you're looking at prints in the morning using daylight, and then in the evening, if you're using a viewing light, they will both look the same, and they will look the same throughout the day for you, because you've got this source that's kind of constant in your room. So that's a great thing. Consistency with printing, as I've talked about in many other videos, is the key. Consistent color management and consistent color accuracy and predictable color is what we're going for. And these lights really do help that, because they give you that consistent lighting source that you can pop your print under and look at it in that lighting source consistently. Also, these lights also help you to stop having dark prints as well. Because if you pop a light, if you're looking at it in kind of subdued lighting and you're thinking, God, that's come out really dark out of my printer, what is going on? As we all know, the brightness of your screen really does have a dramatic effect on if your print comes out dark or not, basically because you're overexposing it on the screen and the print doesn't have that massive backlight shining through it to illuminate it. Whereas if you've got a viewing light and you're kind of stuck within room lighting, ambient lights, then you can pop your print under and it will activate the paper a little bit more because they're stronger lighting sources that you have. So everything appears a little bit brighter for you. Fantastic. Also, if you are using ambient kind of everyday household lighting, they're usually on a little bit on the warm side. So if you're printing lovely black and whites like this one here perhaps, and it may come off the printer and you're thinking, God, that comes out really warm, what's going on? I've done the profiles for it, I'm using the black and white mode of the printer, and then it comes out and you think, God, what's going on? It's the room lights, they're shining on the paper and creating that cast for you. As soon as you put it under a kind of a midday balanced daylight light, then it appears lovely and neutral for you. So that's a couple of things or a couple of examples of where this could really help you to get better prints. Also colour as well. Colour changes under different lighting conditions just because of those colour casts and things we've talked about. But as long as we're looking under a consistent lighting source, then that is one of the keys to actually being able to produce consistent prints as well. So I've talked about a few of the positives there of viewing lights. Let's talk about a few of the kind of the negatives, I suppose. Now, well, I suppose they're not really negatives. There isn't really a negative. You should always use one of these lights. However, we have to be aware of certain things that could change. So let's take the Kaiser viewing light here, which is a very strong light source. So it's very illuminated and it illuminates the prints in a really nice and good way. And it produces this daylight viewing light, which is 5,600 Kelvin. So kind of that midday kind of really bright light that's coming through. That's absolutely fantastic. We put a black and white under here. It makes it lovely and neutral. Absolutely great. But say, for instance, you were exhibiting your work outside, say, in a train station or something like that. I'm just trying to think of an example of something where you might be outside, where the lighting will naturally change and you haven't got a 5,600 Kelvin light constantly shining on those prints. The prints will change depending on the lighting source of the day. So that is something we need to be aware of. So if you're exhibiting in a gallery, it's always worth having a look at the paperwork that come with the gallery, or asking the gallery, to be honest, what their lighting sources are set to, because most reputable galleries will have they will know what their lighting sources are, and they mostly have daylight bulbs, which are like the 6,500, 6,600 kind of around that area, maybe 5,000 Kelvin possibly. They're kind of in that ballpark, and they might be a little higher. You might go 6,000 or something, but they'll usually be around that kind of ballpark kind of figure, anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000, kind of around there. So it's worth asking them, because of course then, if you have a viewing light like the GrafiLite here, it allows you to change the Kelvin. So the big difference between the Kaiser viewing light is that this is fixed at 5,600 Kelvin, where the GrafiLite here by Calibrite, you can actually change the temperature of the light. So our first setting we have is 2,700 Kelvin. So it's very warm, as you can see here, hopefully, in the light underneath. Now, also, I can hold it down again, this button here, and then it goes to 4,000 Kelvin for me, which is great. And 4,000 Kelvin, as I've read in my research, there's been a few studies on this, and most people are saying that 4,000 Kelvin is the most pleasing to a human eye. And that, again, is very subjective, so please don't jump in the comments. But that seems to be the studies I've looked at and read by universities and things, where they've kind of polled people on this, that seems to be a good viewing light for most people. However, I think personally it's a little bit on the warm side. However, who am I to go? I'm probably in the minority here, but it just seems a little bit on the warm side. I prefer a bit more of a cooler light, shall we say, so 5000 or 5600. But the third setting on the Graphite is actually 5000 Kelvin. So actually a really nice kind of viewing light. It's a very subdued light. It's a nice light. So the Kaiser light does have a bit more power to it. However, I don't know if you necessarily need that power when looking at a print. I think this is a bit more subdued, a little bit more of a softer light that's coming from the Graphite here. So it depends on preference, to be honest, and that's what the temperature of the light comes down to, in a sense. It depends on your output, where you're exhibiting this. If you're exhibiting it in someone's home, it may be worth thinking about that 4000 Kelvin, because it'll probably look great in the day, because daylight is going to be shining on it, so it's probably going to be a little bit of a kind of a cooler light coming on there, so it's going to look a little bit more punchy. Whereas in the evening, because you've looked at it under certain lighting and you've edited it under certain lighting as well, then it's probably going to give you kind of a pleasing kind of mix of both in a way, because you've got the daylight light and the ambient light in the evening. I think that it comes down to personal preference. I prefer a bit more of a cooler light, so I possibly might go for the Kaiser light. However, I do like the Graphite because it's nice and small. You can just look at your prints under there and it gives a lovely neutral light to it as well. So there's fors and against for both here. Both of these lights are available on the Fotospeed website. So I'll put links to this in the description though, to both of them. And they are really a great addition to your workflow. It gives you that consistency. I think that is the key. If one thing you take away from this video is the consistency it gives you for those lighting conditions. You can also go the whole hog, I suppose, and you can reset and calibrate your screen to those color temperatures as well. So what you're viewing it is the same as hopefully, fingers crossed, the same as what your color temperature on your screen is set. However, this all really does depend on where you're outputting your prints and the viewing conditions. If you're a camera club photographer and you're putting your work into camera club competitions, it's probably worth getting a viewing light that is close to the lights that the picture prints are going to be viewed under. So it's worth having a think about with that as well. But I hope that has kind of explained viewing lights and given you a good kind of introduction to viewing lights. The options that we have here at Fotospeed, be it the Kaiser LED desktop light or the GrafiLite from Calibrite as well. Fors and against for both, but they both do an excellent job of actually how you view your prints as well. So, hope that's helped. So, I will end there though. And please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel, as always. And also don't forget to sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter and download The Art of Printing if you want to learn more about color temperatures and viewing lights and things like that. Also, we release new videos here on the Fotospeed YouTube channel every week. So again, I will remind you, please don't forget to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. So just click that subscribe button and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.